I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
He's the prime cut passer from behind the meat counter. It's Fairway Frank. And introducing a 6'3" center who's a cut above the rest. Say hello to Audie Crooks.
What's up, guys? Connor Ferguson here for Cyclone Fanatic. We're about to bring Rob Gray in. This is our Big 12 tournament preview show. Thank you for tuning in, and we're going to knock one out real quick. Thank you to the fine folks at Keen Project Solutions. Cyclone fans looking for a career that challenges and inspires you, Keen Project Solutions is celebrating 10 years of innovation, serving ag, industrial, and commercial customers with pride. We're hiring engineers and project managers who want to do more than just work. They want to make a difference. Be a part of a team that values your dedication, turns your expertise into impactful solutions. Visit thinkdifferentthinkkeen.com today to apply. Again, that's thinkdifferentthinkkeen.com. It's Keen Project Solutions. Great people make a great company. Rob, how's it going, man?
Doing okay. Another long day in Ames, followed by a blizzard. So here we go. Big Tuesday.
I'm hunkered down in the bunker. I'm ready for the blizzard. Even though we got to be at Hilton later. But yeah, the lighting situation's fun. I thought the daylight would be enough, and then it got really cloudy, and I was like, we'll have to do something.
Well, your face is well illuminated, so.
Right. The Iowa State women coming off a 22-point victory over a ranked Kansas State team. And to do it on Emily Ryan's senior day and in all the stuff that went along with it was huge. But what a big win at a big time for this team.
Yeah, and I mean, I asked, of course, Bill Fenley about it, and he gave me that quote that I made the lead for our little blurb for the story I wrote, which is just like if you wrote a story about how Emily Ryan's, paraphrasing him, senior day or night, however it ends up being, should go, this is what you would write. She plays great, 17, 10, and 7. Iowa State not only beats a Kansas State team that's, again, top 15. They've learned to play without Ioka Lee. Came in with 5 overall losses. Generally pretty dominant, and they just took the will out of them. A la TJ Otzelberger almost. I mean, 33% shooting, I think, out-rebounded him by 16. That's the type of win that says Iowa State can make some noise this postseason, not just at Kansas City, where you'll be, but beyond, because that win should firmly get them in the field. Now, seeding, you want to avoid the dreaded 8-9 line, but that's talk for a later date. This team is riding high, and it sounded like it. We're talking to Audie Crooks and Sydney Harris today for sure.
Yeah, and we'll get into the seating and stuff, and there's a few different spots I think they can end up still, even with what we got, probably 3 or 4 more possible results at the maximum. And I think there's anywhere from probably an 8 to a 12 that they could end up. But Audie got Player of the Week this week nationally by both the AP and the USWBA. I think that I got those letters right. I always get them confused in my head, but she got that after a fantastic week, obviously, and then she's on the Slam magazine cover. So another Cyclone on a digital cover with Slam. They must have made a lot of headway with Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones, and I'm not really surprised to see him come back and do one with Audie.
Yeah, it's cool kind of how that's come back now that print publications are out the window. Those digital covers are pretty neat, and obviously it means a lot. Audie was told, I think, by women's basketball SID Sarah Dyson that she was on it, and you could tell she was really pumped up about it. But 36-10 when you need it against Kansas State, for Emily Ryan, for Iowa State's season hopes to solidify that, cement that NCAA tournament spot. I mean, she's playing her best ball. The team's playing its best ball. Roles are finally pretty sharply defined. And we'll get more into that possibly later as to why, but couldn't be playing better at a better time. And boom, off to KC out there off, I think, this afternoon.
We hear the term in wrestling a lot that every team needs to peak for March, kind of with both women's and men's basketball for that matter. But the women's team seems to really be peaking and figuring out who they are, getting an identity at the exact right time in the season. I know many would prefer that it came earlier, but this is where it's at.
Yeah, I had an inkling as to what the key was to that. So I asked Coach Fenley what it was, because he's hinted at it in recent weeks of how getting Kelsey Jones in the starting lineup has meant a lot to this team. I think that's been the key. I mean, she's performed very consistently. She's hit a lot of clutch threes, whether it be when they need it in a run in the first half or when they just need a basket in the second half, maybe when they're stuck in the mud a little bit. She does her usual stuff, fighting for rebounds. Her defense has been solid. I mean, that has helped everyone else settle into their roles. Sydney Harris is now kind of like the, I don't know what you'd say, the sixth starter, a la Curtis Jones. And she comes in, hits a big three or two. It seems like every game, improved on the defensive end. And it's true for everybody. Bentley still got a pretty expansive rotation. We'll see if that shrinks up in the postseason. But again, roles, when you can define roles, and Coach Fenley said it's one of the hardest things he's done, 30th season at Iowa State, as to how to tighten up and how to determine the best rotation with this team. And to be in the best spot that they could possibly be with all the moving parts this season, at this point in the season, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more if you're a part of the Iowa State Cyclones program.
Yeah, and as we've been talking, it comes at exactly the right time for them. They didn't have a quad one win. They didn't have a win over a ranked team. I think the best win was Drake, and that's a decent win. Drake could win the Missouri Valley. I think it's a one-bid conference, but it's still up in the air of who wins that tournament, and they obviously do their tournament next week on the women's side. But with that being your best win, you don't really have a resume definer. You don't have a key win that you're going into March with, and you needed to get one. You needed it, I shouldn't say quickly, but at some point, right? And you got it in the last opportunity that you were there to get it for. Now you can go to Kansas City and, take care of the game that you need to take care of. And everything from then on is essentially gravy. And I think they got a good draw, but we'll talk bracket in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they were ESPN women's basketball guru, bracketologist, analyst, Charlie Cream's one of the last four in. And then you get a signature win, as you said, finally, to improve to 1-9, I think, in quad one games. Is that what it was? 1-9, 1-10. First one, either way. That should, he had him in the play-in game. Play-in game is not a bad place to be, by the way, when you're playing well. We've seen that on the men's side a lot. NC State, I mean, the teams, Syracuse years ago, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think Drake went into one against Wichita State because they didn't technically win a round of 64 game under DeVries.
Yeah, they didn't get hot though, like it went to us.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're doing now. The 11th seed Syracuse is always going to get hot.
Well, yeah, but either way, that's not necessarily a bad place to be. But you want to be firmly in. You don't want to be, we could be in that game. Oh, they left us out. What the heck? Fenley felt that shouldn't have been the case, even if they lost to Kansas State, based on the fact that they beat everyone they should beat. And all their losses are against teams, as he said today, that are going to be in the tournament, I think, except for UNI, which he said, very tough place to play in different circumstances as an in-state rivalry. I mean, they can, at this point, they're working to enhance their seeding, enhance their situation. And as you said, we'll talk bracket in a bit, but I agree. Certainly sets up nicely for them to at least get a win in Kansas City for sure.
Absolutely. And real quick, we're going to thank the folks at Central States Roofing right up there on the logo chart. Cyclone Fanatic thanks our great partners at Central States Roofing for supporting our coverage of the Cyclones this postseason. Central States Roofing has been locally owned and in business for 56 years now and serving our local communities. Get the best Iowa roofing service from the top roofing company in Iowa. Central States Roofing has 3 convenient locations in Des Moines, Ames, and Fort Dodge. See more of what they can do for you at csroofing.com. csroofing.com. Yeah, and we talk about the 1-9 mark in quad 1, and I know the casual fan out there, or probably a little level above casual that's not super diehard, whatever the middle ground is looking at North Carolina's resume on the men's side. This Iowa State women's team, and UNC is like 1-11 or something against quad 1. I don't know I think their conference record, I'm not sure what it is. It's not 12-6. The Iowa State women, 12 league wins. They played a daunting schedule. I'm pulling college football words from Indiana now. This resume is really good. I'd be extremely shocked. I would probably write 3 articles about it if they got snubbed from the tournament, comparing old teams that didn't get in. But I see no situation that Iowa State misses.
Yeah, they're in. I mean, it's just a matter of, as you said, I mean, it would be shocking would be an understatement if they didn't get in after, again, getting that K-State game. So-called good losses, even though they're blowout losses, should you be rewarded for playing South Carolina and UConn on a neutral floor and on the road, essentially. You would think, so I'm not sure what the ceiling is for this Iowa State team, but I think it at least matches the ceiling that each of the last couple have had. We got a Sweet 16 in there. You darn near scored a huge upset to get the Sweet 16 last season. Again, playing their best ball at the right time. I think this team's in the same situation, and it makes you go back and wonder, boy, if Kenzie Hare had been healthy with this team, how well would that have helped set the rotations earlier? How well could they have been made positioned to do really well and still, be cresting the wave at this time of year? But that's neither here nor there. She's planning on coming back and cheering the team on right now. And again, they couldn't be in a better spot, all things considered, given some times. At times, things look dire this season for sure.
Yeah, and we talk about it all the time with March, and it's kind of the draw you get in where you end up going, who you're playing, what the situation is like in that arena. Were you in Tennessee, or is that just me and Tommy?
I wasn't. No.
The difference between I don't know why. Okay, my bad, Rob. Bad question by me. The difference between Tennessee's arena when Iowa State lost to Toledo, I believe that was 2 seasons ago. I think I'm talking about the last 2 years. And the games in Stanford, when Iowa State had a 20-point comeback against Maryland and then took Stanford to the brink. The difference in those atmospheres was mind-blowing. You would think it's 2 different tournaments with how big and spacious that Tennessee arena was and how small and I don't want to say quaint because it was louder at Stanford. It was smaller. It felt lighter. It felt like
intense.
Yeah. In just the weird stuff that can happen, anything can happen in March. The draw is kind of what I'm pointing back to here. It's all about the draw you get. And I firmly believe, and call me a hater, that I'm not sold on Oklahoma State or whatever, but I think Iowa State got a great draw for the Big 12 tournament. It comes with a daunting task of if you get past your first game, you're looking at Baylor in the second round. And if you get past them, the top seed on the other side is Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor is, Coach Finley joked today just how it seems like they always end up with them, in the way. I mean, obviously the Bears took care of the Cyclones, by 15, I believe, in Waco. Only meeting, Finley's talked all season about how weird this season is to only play, I think, 3 teams twice, and avoided sweeps, which he said was the goal, and got 2 sweeps and got the split with Kansas State. So that's all good. But yeah, Oklahoma State went toe to toe with them. Was it the first conference game of the season in Stillwater?
Yeah, it was the first one.
They can match up with them well, I think.
I think at the time we called it almost a bad loss. just because of the timing, and you needed one.
The
and
timing, you wanted to get right, and you wanted to prove that you're top 4 Big 12. Well, right now they're top half Big 12, but I think they're playing as well as all but it, probably TCU. I mean, anyone else? I mean, and then once you get to a title game, if that were to happen, and again, Coach Fenley even said, frankly, today that it would be the best coaching job and best job his players have done if they were to somehow pull off Big 12 tournament win, a repeat. Just given how good TCU is, given how much they've struggled against Baylor, given what their limitations are to some extent, but there's if they play great, they shoot the 3 great, don't turn it over like crazy, they've got a great shot against Baylor. Again, they got to get by Cincinnati or Arizona State, and Cincinnati can be sneaky sometimes, but I don't see that being a problem to this team, particularly the way it's playing. And then, give Baylor a run, be in it in the last couple minutes. Doesn't Emily Ryan senior status kick in? We've seen how great she's played down the stretch this season as her minutes she's been cleared to play more minutes. Season high 36 in that great game against K-State. So, as you said, get open. I mean, if you could get 3 wins, and I think I still think Baylor, they should be a decided underdog. But I think if they were to win that game, they should feel like, yes, we can go and beat Oklahoma State, and then, collision course for TCU. We've seen them play teams that blew them out in the regular season in these Big 12 title games before and go toe-to-toe, certainly not always winning, usually not. But, again, the way this team is playing right now, as you said, the draw, it really couldn't be better for a number 7 seed, looking at what could lay ahead.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say I wasn't sold on Oklahoma State. They're obviously a really, really good team. But out of the top 5 seeds, if you could pick one to be on your side, I guess with the 2-3 game with Baylor as well, those would be probably the top 2 teams I'd pick. Maybe West Virginia, but no, it's a fantastic draw. They're going to be favored in that first game, and expected to win it. And you should go out and win it. That should be a complete given going forward, and we should see him play on Friday night. And anything can happen in that game, whatever. I think you framed it perfectly, but this team's capable of a run. They're playing well at the right times. Now can you go put it out there and execute? And I think that's what is going to be really interesting about this week. What I do like for this team is it doesn't matter how far they go, they get a week of rest.
Yeah, that's true. And it again, excuse me, or I shouldn't say again, but a wild card in all this is how good relative to, I think, a lot of the other teams in the 16-team Big 12 or the Big 12 travels, in terms of this women's basketball fan base. Baylor's got its devoted group, right? Because they've got the tradition. They've taken a couple steps back since Mulkey left, but they're still always really good, right? Just like this season, they're going to have an advantage there, probably against anybody they play. So I know the fact that the men's and women's aren't overlapping could impact that a little bit, but you've still got your devoted core of Iowa State women's basketball fans that, from a number standpoint, I'd put up against anyone and above anyone really in the Big 12. So you've got that going for you too, which is nice. And again, if they play well and get past that first game, they should just have all the confidence in the world and that chip on their shoulder mentality to go and knock off the Bears, and then all bets are off. I mean, this team is legitimately on a major roll again at the best possible time.
Absolutely. And before we go any further, I want to thank Fairway Meat and Grocery. Cyclone Fanatic thanks Fairway for its continued support of our coverage of Iowa State athletics. Grilling season is fast approaching. There's no better place to load up on quality meats than your local Fairway. Thanks to Fairway Meat and Grocery, a longtime partner of Cyclone Fanatic, and really appreciate them supporting us here. And all you guys with the women, do what you can, support in any way that you can. and we'll see what the crowds are like next week or this week. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how freaking stupid it is that they don't combine these tournaments into one weekend again. It's ridiculous that I haven't seen it mentioned all March, Rob. I need to send my yearly tweet out. I need to go copy and paste one because it's dumb as hell. Put them together. You're going to have more fans there. You have plenty of time. You have 2 arenas. And if anyone's complaining about getting dressed as a basketball player in a locker room for a postseason tournament, I've gotten dressed in hockey closets, putting on way more stuff than these basketball players are. They got shoes, Rob. Worried about putting on shoes. Yeah.
Well, you do have the additional teams and all that stuff. And I think didn't Finley tell us last year that he was the lone no vote?
I think so.
Everyone else was like, we want to be in the marquee gym, right? We deserve to be in the marquee gym. And I understand that mentality. I don't understand.
I don't, because it doesn't give you anything more. Like I was saying with Tennessee in the Stanford game was way louder. I guess the Tennessee arena looked cooler, but when no one's there, it doesn't matter. Unless you're anticipating a 15,000 seat sellout, which you're not. It's a postseason tournament. You're not,
I think it's for the people who are yes votes. I think it's the optics of it. I think it's this sport is rising. We don't deserve to be we'll tuck you in the little corner over there in the old near the old haunted ballroom in Municipal Auditorium, or one of the old. They got a few. C-Dub knows this, of course. But I appreciate Fenley being somebody who's just said, no, we shouldn't do that. Because again, those crowds in Municipal are great. Is it kind of a rundown place? Yeah. Does it have a ton of history too? I walk through that place and go into some of these rooms every single time I'm covering stuff there. It's cool. The floor's not bad. I mean, it's not, so the locker room's not nice. Okay, whatever. I'm with you in terms of the sentiment, but I can understand, I guess, unlike you, why a lot of these other coaches and players are like, no, we should be in the T-Mobile Center just like the guys are.
I get it, but what I think is they don't experience the games like we all do. They're sitting there on the sidelines and all they see is the backdrop and they want a cooler backdrop, right? I've sat in all these arenas at different areas, whether it's nice or small and run. I've been to Wrigley. I've been to, different race car, Talladega, just different varieties of aged stadiums and arenas. And newness has never played a factor on if I liked it or not. The most rundown ones can be the coolest places. Like I've never saw, maybe I'm just a weird guy with arenas and stuff, but I wish they'd get off that horse, just, but I get the sentiment because they're just looking out at, hey, here's where I'm coaching today. And here's the crowd. And it's either this small little tucked away space, like you said, or the T-Mobile Center.
It's the prestige factor and the again, the optics. Women's basketball does not want to be seen as lesser than, okay? Given, how it's powered up in popularity recently. And you can't blame them for that. But I do understand though that what you're saying and we're getting a little long-winded on this topic.
Yeah.
But, no one wants to look out an arena and see an arena that big and see what looks like nobody's there. Look at Gallagher Iba Arena when the ISU men shockingly lost it at Oklahoma State. I mean, you could hear individual voices on the radio broadcast complaining about fouls or something. And yeah, they got excited at the end. They rushed the floor, but there couldn't have been more than 3,000 or 4,000 people in that building. I mean, that's a different kind of optic. And I guess this is a longer discussion for a different day, I suppose.
With that, I want to thank Country Landscapes. Thinking about making a big move to your home this spring and summer? Remember our friends at Country Landscapes who have locations in Ames, Clear Lake, Des Moines, and North Liberty. Country Landscapes can help with any type of design or project that you're building to your outdoor living space. From residential to commercial projects, let our friends at Country Landscapes create a beautiful outdoor space for your home or business. Yeah, I'm with you on that. We should stop going long-winded on that one. is there? I guess out of 10, maybe give a percentage. Maybe give a percentage on Iowa State's chances to make the semifinals and finals.
Semis, I'll go 25. Finals, I'll go 10, 15.
Okay, that's right around where I'm at. I think if they beat Baylor, so get to the semis,
that'll change the percentage field.
Yeah, and I think the finals I would almost pick them to win that Oklahoma State game if it was Oklahoma State, and if it was, who else would it be? Utah. If it was Utah, it'd be a tough game too. I think it would be Utah. If I'm looking at it right, yeah.
They certainly they're a surprise that they were as inconsistent as they were in league play. They looked so good in Ames when they beat the Cyclones, but that's a scary team this time of year too. Like BYU on the men's side, which we'll be watching late tonight.
And then the championship would be on Sunday unless BYU's in it, and then it'd be Monday. If I got that correct too.
That's correct.
Okay.
I think we can both agree that TCU is kind of like the Texas of this year's Big 12 tournament, a prohibitive favorite. Not that they will win it, but again, they should. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, certainly a bunch of teams that can make a run. I think everyone in the top 7 can make a run, to be honest. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right on the dot there. It feels like the top schools, probably the top 7 programs. Sorry, didn't mean to say schools. Top 7 or 8 programs. We'll do 7. I don't know if Arizona's in that tier, but they're all really close. I think TCU is the clear number 1. But those next 4, you could probably put almost in any order. And I'm remembering like Oklahoma State had that big one over Baylor. I think it was a 30-point victory. And yeah, you could really swap those up, and it's going to make for an interesting tournament, especially, over the years, how many upsets we've seen, not necessarily on the women's side in Kansas City, but I think this tournament could provide the same types of weird things that you didn't expect, especially once we get past the first day.
Yeah, you're right. And even Coach Finley, you mentioned Arizona, talked about how well they've been playing lately. So they're also, doesn't always guarantee anything. We've seen teams that are playing great roll into the Big 12 tournament and lay an egg, right? Iowa State teams, other teams, and then they get right back on a roll in the NCAAs or not. I mean, the momentum is the more scientific among us and more literal thinking people will say it's not a thing, whereas it's more or less a feeling of, hey, you're playing great, so you got better confidence, blah, 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 blah. You can lose it in a hurry, in other words. But, there surely will be some upsets. But, again, I guess from an Iowa State perspective, you sure hope you take care of business in the first one. And you're one of those teams scoring an upset against a much not loved Baylor program.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's March. I can't wait to get down there. I can't wait to see all the games. If you are watching this still, thank you for supporting our women's basketball coverage. Tell your friends about it. Tell everyone that you can. And let's get some more eyes on this team, on this product. And thanks again for listening to the Big 12 Tournament Preview Show right here on Cyclone Fanatic. For Rob Gray, Connor Ferguson. You guys have a great rest of your week. We'll see you in Kansas City.